Hey everybody, good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and I don't know which disembodied voice or disembodied hands we have accompanying us today. It's either John or Justin. And I totally lied, it's not Sphinx Day. I realized after I had put Sphinx up that I had totally missed the fact that Dwarf was after Living Statue, so we need to go back to Dwarf. So I'm putting Sphinx away. Yo everybody. Sphinx goes away. The Sphinx goes away. It's like the cheese stands alone. Alright, well not really, but there we go. So it's Dwarf Day. Dwarf Day! And I have a whole bunch of things lined up because we're finishing so many models. Ain't no thing but a Sphinx wing, except there isn't. Except we're not Sphinxing. Ta-da! We're doing Dwarf. Hey there, Bob and Julie. Oh, sorry. Pardon me, guys. Allergies. It do be spring here. And it's also warm today. Warmer. So my allergies are like, wee! Nope, no Sphinx, sorry. No, we go in a specific order in Ara. We always go in a specific order. Obviously, you guys don't watch the social media that John takes such pains to post up so that you know what's coming. Like, he has the schedule. The schedule is not changed until a model drops out of it. Yes, it's a Monday. So yeah, it's a Monday. I actually thought it was Sunday. Like, yesterday was a terrible day. Like, I had absolutely horrible sleep on Saturday night. Like, my back, I somehow managed to tweak my back, I think. I was up and down like 6 times. Ugh. You know how you feel just burned? You feel like just your brain is just scorched the next morning. So I feel like Sunday didn't actually happen. Well, right, but Sphinx isn't always on Tuesday in Ara. It changes because it's a 6 model rotation. So Sphinx is not always on Tuesday. Sphinx is on different days. So she essentially travels. So like next week she'll be on Wednesday. The next week she'll be on Thursday until we finish her. So it's a 6 model rotation on purpose that way, so that if you do have something going on one day of the week, that isn't the day of the week that you missed the model on. So, like, last week, the Sphinx was on Monday. Which is probably why I got confused. Well, that and I still think it's Sunday. As stated. Alrighty. We're doing metallics. Let's see. I want to do my highest highlight on these metallics. There is also VOD, yes. But VOD isn't as much fun because you don't get to chat. Don't get to chat and ask live questions. Pardon me while I grab my Dwarven Gold and my Pearl White. Because that's what we're using to highlight this. And let's see. What do I want to do? The problem with that, I think I'm going to have to shade down that darker metallic. And I think I want to use like a purple, like Kraken ink. I think I'm going to use Kraken ink to shade down that particular, like the breastplate and the hammer and stuff. Because I want to bring it up. But I don't want it to look too close to this other stuff. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to be clever. Yes, somehow. We'll figure it out. Maybe I'll use coppery orange instead, so it's a little bit different. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a mix. There we go. Oh, you spent my Patreon. Awesome. I'm sorry you blew half your day, but I hope that you enjoyed what you watched, Kerniko. Yeah, it's been over a year now. Like, I have serious amounts of content up on that Patreon. Like, so much so that I'm always looking for new ideas. That's why I email everybody when they first join. I haven't emailed you yet because I probably haven't noticed that you joined. I haven't checked my Gmail this morning. But yeah, I'll be emailing you then, Kerniko, just to ask if there's anything in particular you want me to teach. And I put those things on my list, and I try to work them in. In fact, the $2 tier is going to feature a suggestion from somebody who just messaged me on my Patreon. So, oh no, I didn't firmly clean my palette. Oh no, I have a little bit of a paint skin. That's okay. It'll come off again once I soak it. That's the great thing about porcelain palettes. All right, so let's do our highlight on our metallics. And last time, if you'll all recall, we did shading on the metallics and a little bit. We got all these shadows, all these little areas knocked in, right? We put our shadows up. We're putting our shadows where we would put them for NMM. We're just using opaque paint over the top. And I used a little bit of gloss mixed in as well. I didn't go full opaque for some of these shadows, but for the darkest ones I did. So, hello, Jedi Jared. Wow, 22. Nice. Thanks for saving it for our show. That's fantastic. Yes, I have picked, here, Julie, let me see. Should I sneak preview? Let's sneak preview. So, I have a few things that I could work on to replace, Living Statue and Sphinx. So, I did get, you may recognize this model, Julie. It's a Naga. I've always liked this one. So, I like the human face on it and the headdress. So this is the Naga, and it is actually sculpted by Julie, because, you know, it's hard to get away from that. And then we have another Julie model, which is also in the running to replace one of our monsters, and that would be the lovely, lovely Wyvern. Rawr. Rawr. And the Wyvern is cool, because he has scale patterns, but he also has a lot of skin, so we could do some interesting things there, and his wings have a nice texture. And because you guys yelled at me, mostly, I got the Fungal Queen, Christine Van Patten's Fungus Queen. And so she's an option. She's an option. Though I have to come up with a good color scheme. I swore off dragons, iffy, which means I'd like, and the reason I swore off dragons isn't because of the subject matter, it's actually because of the size. Wyvern is small. Like, Wyvern is, here's Wyvern next to our friend the dwarf. So as you can see, Wyvern is a smaller dragon. I don't mind doing small dragons. That's fine. But, like, I have Gemstone Dragon. He'll probably come back into rotation as Bones 5 gets closer. The reason I took him out of rotation is just that he, I didn't want to be working on him when he wasn't available for you guys. Thank you for the resub, Noon Code. Wow, 16 months. Great. Smaller dragons, kind of, but not very often, Cookie. The only dragons that are in my queue for you guys are going to be this Wyvern, and like I said, I may take a Maldrakar head and just really do a very in-depth dive on painting it in detail, with a lot of details. That's kind of like my other thing, is just a Maldrakar head. I may convert it and then paint it. But otherwise, expect no dragons, except for Gemstone Dragon, who is very different. But yeah. Yeah, he'll come back, Inara. It's just like, the problem with Crystal Dragon, though, is the same problem with every dragon, is that it's all one thing, right? It has a couple of colors on it, and that's it. And then it's all just repetition. So for you guys, it's not, for me, as far as I'm concerned as a teacher, it's like not very good, because I'm just going to be doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over, and it gets very boring. And so I don't want to do the Dragon Bust, Inara. I'd rather do a Maldrakar head. I've painted most of my Dragon Bust, and I used it in a lot of Patreon, like, you know, things, but I'm still not happy with the color schemes, so it's like, I just don't want to do it. Since I've already, like, painted it over twice, it's just not fun for me at all. I'm one of those painters where I don't usually do copies. Like, I think there's been like 3 times in my entire painting history where somebody saw something I did and asked me to do a copy and paid me for it, and I said yes. But otherwise, I'd really hate painting the same model twice, because I usually have a really clear idea of what I want to do with it, and when I'm done with that, I just really have no incentive to paint it again. Yeah, a long time. Exactly, Julie. It's a long time to finish painting a big dragon, just like it's a long time to sculpt one. And because it's all the same subject matter, like I said, you guys don't learn as much. Whereas with a model that has different surfaces, different colors, different things going on, then I feel like you guys get your value out of that, right? And then the other one I mentioned to you guys on Friday. I don't do coffee either, actually, Angry Ham. I don't do coffee or copies. The other one is Lizette. Bobby's redo based on the original Werner green, because she's a Bones USA, and I haven't painted one yet. So I ordered her to like get a feel for how good the casting and sculpts are, and it's really good actually. Even David, and David hates bones. Like, David is not a big fan of bones. He likes metal. But even David said that this is comparable to like resin, and that he would feel like he could do a top level paint job on Bones USA, which is high praise coming from him because he doesn't like most plastics unless they're styrene. So yeah, so we'll do that one. She's gonna probably sub in for the dancing girl. And then I have a surprise for you guys for the other one, and I'm not going to show it to you. The one that replaces Catfolk Rogue. You asked for a vampire, and I found a vampire. And I'll show you guys that when I have it at hand. When we are ready to start. So okay, so those are the models that I am. The other one I have, she's been sitting around for a while, but she's not going to be in rotation right now. Is the big frost giant? Is she a champion? Hero? Ranger? I don't know. But I've got her as well in one of the original resins. I've had her kicking around for a while. She's just, it's like the Fire Giant King. There's just so much of it. Yeah, so, I mean, I might do the giant when we get through another monster, but I'd like to, like, switch it up a bit. Alright, let's mix up these colors. I keep promising to mix up colors. Hey, Crowley, thanks for a 16-month. Awesome. So yeah, so those are the upcomings. Those are, because we're getting close on Shadow Eyes is almost done. Living Statue has maybe a couple more weeks. Sphinxy is getting close too. The Dancing Girl is almost done. It's just like this guy and Genie. Well, and technically I think Sphinx has quite a few more weeks. Sphinx is just so big. Again, when I do a big model, it takes a long time. But the reason I like Sphinx for this stream is that there are so many things to talk about on her. So I don't mind a big model as long as it's got a lot of stuff to talk about. Like on the Naga, we can talk about scale patterns, and then we can show a couple different ways of doing them. So I'm going to start out with 2 drops of Dwarven Gold. I'm going to put 2 drops of Pearl White in there and see how I like it. This is crossing the flakes. Like normally when you highlight one of our metallic colors, I advise you to stay within flake. So like the green is made with a gold flake, and I would advise you to use like new gold as your highlight there. Maybe with a little pearl white at the end. But like our blue and purple, you can use pearl white to highlight. With our red, it depends on if you're going, like which way you're going with our red metallic. You could use like Dwarven Gold here as an orange to highlight it, and then go up to white. Your metallics, just, you're highlighting them a lot the same as you would a normal color. Just think of a metallic as a color. Like a regular gold tends to be a yellow. So you got to think about, well, I would mix white into yellow. So probably after I've hit my brightest gold, I should mix pearl white into it. So what happens when we mix pearl white in is we get kind of a new, it actually goes more copper and less gold, which I like. This is what I've been waiting for. So that looks like a new copper penny. That's the color that you get with 4 drops of Dwarven Gold from Bones and 2 drops of pearl white. Pearl white is your color for highlighting metallics, guys. No matter what you do, like 9100 pearl white, if you want to highlight metallics, I really consider it a necessary color. Like, and it wasn't a big seller because nobody knows what to do with a white metallic, but you do with a white metallic what you do with regular white. You use it to build highlights. 6 month, half a subiversary. Thanks, Mo. I'm not going to tell you, Korniko. It's a surprise. Yeah, exactly. I like to pick models that have a lot of different textures, and that Frost Giant is on my slate. She will probably show up. You know what I should have done, guys? I should have done the nails on the shield here in the same kind of gold, and I didn't. So I'm gonna have to do them again at some point in the future. But that's okay, because some people who missed the start of this whole thing will be able to get in on it then and see me do that part. I'm gonna grab my Da Vinci. Hello, Dogfather. How's it going? All right, let's see what I can do here. I want to get in focus. Focus! Focus. You're something, Val. You better be working on your Mercy statue. You also have to let me know what the next thing you want coaching on is. So don't forget. I'm trying to not, like, have my coaching skip behind this month. This is my goal. So putting just a little bit of light on the edge of these plates. You just want to hit the edge, Because you don't want to cover up all of your previous highlight, but what you want to do is bring out the highlight, bring out the light. Yeah, that's because I had Sphinx up on the thing and they're not checking the list. I don't know why I bothered to give them the list if they're not going to check it. John, Justin, do you hear me? Yeah, so tell Reaper Miniatures. I'll actually text Justin. Hold on. I always go by the list. Use the list. There we go. Yeah, the reason I gave them the list is so that they would always know what I was doing. It was Justin. Yeah. Yes, Twisted Dome was correct. I work on 6 minis, and so they will shift per day of the week. So you will, if you have a day that you can always watch, you will see a different mini every week. That is the theory. All right, so we're going to kind of look at where the light falls here. And since we're working with metallics, it really does it for us. See that? So like we can see that the light, if I turn it toward my light source, see where that light goes. Like it really hits this lower edge and bounces off. It hits this upper rim and a bit of the skull. There's a little bit of light going down that, not much. See how it's picking up the edges of all of these. When you've got overlapping plates, it almost always picks up the edges a bit more. So that's where you want to put your highlight color. Wherever you see those highlights. I mean, you're using metallics for freak's sake, so use it. It's the easiest thing in the world to know where to highlight metallics because all you have to do is hold it up to the light and look at where your highlights fall. And just paint that. Paint what you see. Title fixed. Thank you. Sweet. Oh, Ron always has something to do with it, Twisted Oma. If you were a Reaper employee, you'd understand this. This is company policy. It's in the handbook, I'm pretty sure. Blame Ron. Unless there's like a newer scapegoat. You know, you're permitted to go to a newer scapegoat if one presents itself. But in general, if you blame Ron on the default, it's always good policy. Gonna hit that lower edge there. And we're just giving it a little extra kick. See how that gives it, like, see how this is still kind of like a little bit dull up here, guys? But look at how that extra kick of really pale color hits those lower plates and really pulls them out. This is why you should shade and highlight your metallics. You can make them look so much better. This is about as small. This guy's good because his plates are big, so he works. But little fiddly, it's when you get the little fiddly details that shaded metallics aren't quite as good. Although you can still do this on something with really fine filigree. It's just going to be a real challenge to bring it all out. So I also need to get the up top of this, remember? It's the upper edge, and the top of the skull there was also picking up the light. But yeah, use your light source. Like, you've got a light source right there that you're painting under. Hold your model up in accordance with what where the source is coming from in your imagination and how you've been painting it, and use it. Use that information. A little bit on the lower edge here is going to pick up the light. And I'm not even thinning this paint, by the way. Because Pearl White, I know, is already somewhat transparent, I'm just using it full strength. Same with other metallics, right? I'm using it full strength, but I'm using not very much on my brush, so I can kind of like stretch it out on the surface. So I'm not putting like a strong, heavy brush stroke. It's really quite, you know, so you can see I don't have much on my thing at all. So it's making a really transparent kind of effect. So that means I can almost layer with it. Oh, I prefer NMM. It's a hard call cookie. Like on a big model, I actually love doing metallics on a big bust, for example. I think it's super fun to do metallics, and I have a lot more fun with it than with NMM on the big stuff usually. But little stuff, I just think NMM looks so much better. And anything with tiny detail, it's just such a pain to get metallics to look right when you've got little tiny filigree or tiny details. I mean, the limit is probably this stuff here. Like, it's going to be hard to make this stand out with metallics because the light changes all the time. I mean, we're strongly suggesting a light source here, but it's still not going to be as crisp, and it's not going to photo as well either as NMM. So for small models, I always prefer NMM because I feel it really does look better. And for larger models, I like metallics better because I think they're more fun. But that you could take that with a grain of salt. It really depends on the model, right? Because I'm doing that Templar bust on my own stream. Some of you may have seen it. That is in Sky Earth non-metallic metal. So it's out to look really reflective. We did more work on that on Thursday. 1 second. Grab. Oh no, her head came off again. Her head is always coming off. Just, take my Templar with a grain of salt here. 1 second. We'll show you guys. See, this is why you should all tune in on my Thursday stream now, because I'm working on this model. Let's see here. There we go. So there she is. So we worked more on her Sky Earth. Let me zoom out. There we go. So what I did is what I'm doing with Sky Earth here is we're suggesting horizon line and details around the model. So you start out by figuring out where your horizon line is, and then you start bringing in details to muck it up. So if you want to watch me paint this, show up on my twitch.tv/paintingbig stream on Thursdays. Yeah, exactly, Jabberwock. But even so, like, even in person, because the light that you're looking at the model under always changes, metallics just can be very challenging to make look good. Whereas NMM gives you the ability to control your light source, right? Like, really tightly control it. So here, the best I can do is, there we go, is really strongly suggest some highlights and hope that it carries. Like, that's why I'm highlighting, is because that even if the light isn't going to catch it, at least that bright stripe is going to show up. So I'm using NMM techniques on this to bring it, to bring it to life, right? To make sure that those points get seen. Because, yeah, otherwise metallics, I mean, they do the work for you, right? But then there's a limit as to how much work they will do. Because they themselves will shift and depend on the light source in the room that you're looking at them in. And it is very hard to photo them. So if I do send this one to Ron, it'll be harder to get a good photo of it because it's in metallics. Like, because where it'll look good from one direction, it might not look good from another direction. Like, you're just trying to hit enough highlights so that it looks pretty good as people are kind of rotating it, right? So that the highlights are coming out. But you can see the light is shifting, right? The shadows actually would do a lot of heavy lifting here to make this model's details come out. Like, that's why shading your metallics targetedly is really... he fixed it, Pendrake, but Discord won't update, so... It's because I had Sphinx on the camera right away because I'm already confused as to the day of the week. I have never had such weird disassociation as I had this morning. Because I had like a whole week last week. I've been sleeping so well since I've been getting up to do exercises in the morning. And I was just sleeping wonderfully. And then I had a terrible night on Saturday. So, like, yesterday is a fog to me. It's like Sunday didn't exist. So I woke up this morning and I was convinced it was Sunday. It was terrible. But yeah, so the Sky Earth, that Templar bust that I showed is my next competition entry for whenever we get competitions back. So she's getting a very high level paint job. Much of which, not all of which, but much of which I will probably do on my stream on Thursday. And I may switch back and forth because I'm working on some other models too. So, like, as David says, David keeps like 5 or 6 like models in progress going at any given time, any one of which may just drop off the radar if he decides he doesn't like it. And And I'm kind of adapting that work style. It's refreshingly guilt-free. But yeah, so if you want to see how I'm doing that one, you should show up for my other stream. Support the Ann on Twitch. Not just on Reaper, but on Twitch in general. All right, so we're picking up, remember the outer fringes. When there's a layer of plates over the top, the lower edge is where it's going to catch the light. You can even see that here. See the lower edge of that one, the lower edge of that one, and the lower edge of that one are all catching the light. That's how the light just moves across layered plates. So that's why you highlight it that way. And that's why you'll see it highlighted that way in NMM. You might look at it and say, oh, I'm not sure that that's realistic, but in reality it is. Likewise, though, these are cylinders, so I need to bring some highlights down on the surface here. And that's where it's getting hard to blend it in. I'm going to grab some water. Well, sure. I mean, and if you're not aiming to, like, you know, if you're doing tabletop and you're not aiming to elevate your metallics, then you're fine. Like, you should assume that when I give a tip like that, guys, you should automatically assume I'm not talking tabletop. You know, I'm normally talking for people, like, this is not the tabletop painting stream.
you should paint some tabletop models just so you can, like, talk to people about it.
Yeah, and I'll cuss a lot and complain that I don't like it because it's not done. Yeah, yesterday I was totally in a fog. I was wandering around in Ravenloft, and the haze of back pain, which I think is pretty much Ravenloft, and I missed the whole day. Like, I was working so hard on getting my videos up for my last tier, but I just couldn't do it. Like, my back gave out toward the midnight, and I was mid-evening, and I was just like, I cannot do this. And also my brain is not here. Yes, David is now here. We have a David. Well, or we have a David in and out. Apparently he does not have meetings.
No, today is a meeting-free day.
Meeting-free day, awesome.
And focus on
other things.
Pure evals for perf.
Oh, yes. The perf. Alright, there we go. I missed that there was a little nail head there, and I may have kind of... I brought in a little bit of walnut, guys, to... I figured I ran over a couple of edges here. So I'm always trying to... So you can line metallics, just like I'm doing right here. And it serves the same purpose. It brings out your details. And again, since you're using opaque paint, it will crisp up the details that otherwise are hard to get to stand out with metallics. So I'm spending a little time to hit these little touches, just like I would with NMM. Because every little bit that you do makes your metallics look better. Flat out. So you just got to ask yourself how good your metallics, how good do you want your metallics to look? But when it comes down to it, you guys can see, if you want your metallics to look as good as, like, you know, the NMM looks, you're putting in about the same amount of work, right? You're actually a little less. I would say a little less. Because you probably have to blend a bit more to get NMM to work, like to really look, you know, like blended and fine, so to speak.
I kind of disagree because I feel like metallics you need a better blend.
I don't agree there because I think the shine of metallics like protects you a bit. Like, it gives you a little wiggle room. Because nobody's looking... When you've got a metallic layered on top of a metallic, at least on a little piece, like this one, you aren't really looking at the blends so much. Like, yeah, if you look down, you'll see I have, like, some rough blending on this. But mostly you're going to be seeing highlights and shadows. That's how I think. But, I mean, I agree with you actually on big models.
I think a bad blend on... I think metallics are a lot harder to blend. And... because you have that natural shininess, you kind of need to blend them more in compared to NMM, where you have the individual reflections give you a lot of, like, variation in color.
Right. I have to answer a question. Hold on, Mayabi. This is the official Reaper stream. So I am a Reaper employee. I created their paint line, and I also was a staff painter for many, many, many years. So we're not actually painting stuff that Reaper has to sell. I actually get to choose what models I paint based on what I think is cool and what will make a good lesson. So this is probably like more, I can answer questions on anything from beginner to really, really advanced topics. Whereas our Monday midday show, which is Josh, I forget what the name of his show is, but Miniatures Monday. Josh does more like quick stuff for the gaming table. Like if you need to paint a lot fast, then his show is great for that. And I think it's at 3 p.m. Central Time on, oh yeah. So cool. So that's what I'm doing pretty much here is we're talking about metallics and how you can make them look better by putting shadows and highlights on them just like you would any other paint. So if you look up this guy, he's, if you go to Reaper's YouTube, all of this stuff is on VOD. So if you miss an episode of that where I did something like shading the metallics where you really want to see it, you can go look up this guy by his item number or by his name, and you should be able to go back and watch the VOD where I did like the metallic shading or anything like that. I do about 6 models in rotation. And the Thursday stream I was talking about is actually on my own channel, which is twitch.tv/paintingbig. Painting Big is my moniker for Patreon and Twitch. So I do my own show on Thursday where I do very high level stuff. Much more high level than I do on here typically. All right, let's do the front. We went through and highlighted the back sufficiently. I'll do the feet last, so I don't have to get kind of the sides here. Sides are the last thing. My paint is thickening a little bit, and as mentioned, the metallics stick very, very, very stubbornly to the palette. So I will drop a brush full of water, single brush full of water into them at this point. Using a little bit of water, because their base tends to cling so tenaciously to the porcelain, you'll just save yourself a little bit of scrubbing if you keep a little bit of water in it. Ah! And I'm throwing my brushes around today. So once again, for those who came in, what we have been using is, for this it's Dwarven Gold, and we used some red and I think some, what did we use, guys? Did we use brown or purple? Can't remember. To make shadows on the metallics. You can kind of see that shadow right there. We did a couple of different colors there. A red so that it would look more coppery because it was looking very gold. And then we went in with a purple. And then we highlighted it up with Dwarven Gold again, and then this newest highlight is Dwarven Gold mixed with Pearl White, which is a white metallic. And what it does is turns that gold into much more of a new copper look. So that's what we're using to highlight. Nope. I think people are way too paranoid about metallics. I went splat. I always kind of thought that it was kind of a crock that people use different paint water for it. Like, I have never, ever... Okay, wait. Once after I was using a ton of metallics and I had a ton of flake in my water, I once had a shiny particle in my matte paint. Once. But people get so paranoid about this, and I really feel that it's fictitious in my experience. And the reason for that is the way metallic flakes work. And the flat truth is that if you mix a lot of opaque paint into a metallic, it will shift the color, but eventually you will lose all of the metallic shine. It blocks the light and it takes it away. So the only way that you're going to get sparkles in your flat paint is if you have a ton of metallic flake in your water when you're using it for rinse water. I have never bothered using any other brushes for metallics. One thing you do need to remember, though, is you must remember to rinse your brushes very often when you're using metallic paint. Most metallic paint is made with a very high acrylic base, and what that means is that it's really hard. It sticks really well. So you may find that you need to wash your brushes after using them for metallic paint, especially if you've accidentally let it dry a little bit up toward the top of the brush. You're going to have to clean it. In which case I use Winsor Newton brush cleaner and restorer. You may be able to use other soaps, but I just don't see it. I don't understand the paranoia about crossing the streams, as it were. Yeah, I just feel like, yeah, brown, thanks, War Shadow. That's what I thought. I didn't think, I'm going to use purple for this darker metallic, but for the brighter one, we did use, it looked like brown, but sometimes it's hard to tell when you've applied it really thin over a color exactly what dark you used. Alrighty, let's try to get the edges here. So we know already, we can see the highlight, right? So again, we're going to turn our model and see where our shinies come up. So we definitely do have that light band coming through there. You can see it off that nick there. And then, you know, it's pretty much going around the edge here, and then it's going to go across the top of this band. So I'm going to add my highlight. I'm going to make it smaller than my original, you know, highlight there. Just like with layering, you want your highlight to shrink so that you don't wipe out your previous color. Gotta hit the rivets with a little shine. I'll probably hit those stronger with pearl white at the end. Yeah, no problem. I mean, a lot of people are very passionate about the whole don't swap your tools and your stuff with metallics versus regular paint. But yeah, I have to be honest. I honestly feel like that's overreacting. I feel like it's a common paint myth, and I feel like it is a myth by my own experience. Now, maybe they're using a different brand of paint or something than I am. I suppose there could be Flakes out there. But even so, like, I know how this stuff works. And it shouldn't work that way. Like, it should be a fluke that you would ever see a shiny on top of your matte paint job. Like, okay, here's an exception, though. If you're glazing, like, if you've done paint and then you want to go back and build a glaze, that's when you want to make sure your water is clean. Because if you have metallic flakes in there and you're building a glaze, which is almost no paint and mostly water, absolutely you'll get sparkles. So that's it. There's a qualifier for you. So if you're building washes or glazes out of paint water that has a lot of metallic flake in it, that's where I would not do that. Not unless you're doing it, or you're washing or glazing over the top of metallics and you're trying for that effect. But so there is an exception there, to be absolutely fair. But yeah, there's a lot of paint myths out there that the community buys into that I kind of don't agree with, and that is probably one of the biggest. But, I mean, it comes down to also your mileage may vary. Like, the materials that you are using and the way that you are using them are going to differ from the way that I use them. Even if you sit and watch me for a year and try to emulate what I do, your style's going to be different, and you're going to get slightly different results. So it could be that maybe you're putting more flake into your paint water because you're loading up your brush more, and maybe then you have a problem, So just because I think it's not a thing, I guess the bottom line is don't panic, just be observant. See for yourself whether it's a problem. Just going to extend this highlight a little bit down the edges to kind of bring those out. Even though it's not really realistic, I like that shine down there just a little bit. There would be a little bit of under reflection, so it's not completely unheard of to have that highlight there. That said, I'm mostly not working with under reflections on these metallics because they will reflect just fine on their own. So that's one aspect of NMM that I don't necessarily apply unless I'm working on a very large metallic surface. Then I might emphasize the undersides a little bit of surfaces just to make sure that they catch the light in a realistic manner, because metallics, water-based metallics, are never going to act perfectly like real metallics. They just don't have the same sheen. They're a tiny particulate that you're layering up, to make a shiny surface, but they're made of tiny particles, whereas steel is a sheet. It's only a tiny particle when you get to the atomic level. So you aren't going to get like some of the solvent-based metallics can get very fine metal flakes. And so you can get a more realistic effect, but you have to use solvents. And that's something that I don't enjoy, so I just make do with what I've got here. But if you do like solvents, you can get some very realistic metal effects working with those metals. All right, so we're getting all of these nice little things. We're going to, again, just like we had a highlight on the back of this, we're going to have a highlight again on the front. And it's going to go right down the front here. Just want to kind of suggest it, bring it out. I'm kind of just stippling it down the front. There. So you can see how now the front plates of armor are coming out more because we're doing these highlights. Like the details are coming out more. They're really standing out. Oh, hey, there's Collins as a highly skilled finger painter. Water is always gross, builds up residue, and you get no sparkles. Yeah, so, okay. So if Collins isn't getting any sparkles, there you go. Oh, Shadow Raven, never have that. No, it's always, your own experience should be your first guide. No, yeah, these people know better than me. No. Like, even me, I always give you guys the qualifier of your mileage may vary. This is absolutely true. The way you use your paint, the way you use your brushes, how much you thin, you know, how much you rinse, you know, all of these little things build up to push you in a particular direction, and your experience may not be the same as mine, even though I have 30 years experience in mini painting. It doesn't matter. I don't necessarily know more than you about your experience. Anybody who presents it that way, kind of put a question mark in your head and try it yourself. Like, people who teach and give you absolutes, I think it's always healthy to put like a little question mark in your head. Try it yourself. If your experience is the one they taught, then you're like, oh, all right, this is perfectly cool. But always question. You may not paint like they do. You may not use the same paint line or the same brushes. You may not apply, you certainly won't apply the paint the same way. So yeah, always question. Never discount your own experience, even as a newbie. Maybe even especially as a newbie. When you're coming into the hobby, that's when people try to seed you with all those paint myths, right? And sometimes those guidelines are really good ones, like always thin your paint a little bit, or, you know, always, you know, make sure that you're unloading your brush. You know, some of them are practical. And even those, you could try and experiment and see if you agree. Like, there's no harm in listening to something, but then trying it yourself and seeing how it translates. And if it doesn't work, coming back with questions, right? I mean, there's a lot of knowledge out there, but some of it may not work that great for you. And it's not you. It's just, or it is you, but in the best possible way. Over many years of painting and being largely self-taught, because there wasn't a lot, YouTube didn't exist when I was trying to get better. I think that having a critical mind and paying attention to your own experience is more valuable than 100 YouTube videos. Trust but verify, yeah. Because it might not work for you, right, Dabber? It's always, and it might not have anything to do with you not being a good painter. It might just be that it doesn't suit your style. And if you think you don't have a style yet, you probably, in the greater artsy sense, you're right, but in the lesser minutia sense, you're wrong. Like, your style will develop as you get, like, to be more of a painter. But everybody's got something going on that they do uniquely, even as a beginner. And you refine it. As you paint, you learn what you really love, and you learn the looks you don't like, and you learn the brushes you really adore, and the brushes that you're not into, and, you know, you learn which palette type you gravitate toward. Like, all these things will tweak your style in various ways. Style is always evolving. The style that I have now is not at all the style that I had back in the days when I was doing Golden Demon Awards. That was, you know, 19 years ago, guys. 19 years ago, man. That's crazy talk. Hey, and in exactly 1 month, I have 18 years working for Reaper. Isn't that exciting? Crazy, crazy. Reaper had a huge effect on me. I started painting when I was 2. Hey, I look young on this stream because this beautiful ring light takes away the wrinkles. Trust me, Bane. I love this light. It makes me look 10 years younger. I started painting when I was 9. You were only 7 years off. And technically, I don't count the first 10 years. So, shh. Don't tell them I'm old. Actually, I don't mind. I firmly believe that young at heart is the important part anyway. And trying to, you know, as long as my back doesn't give out, I'm good. But yeah, bottom line, always like try stuff. Just try stuff. Play with stuff. Figure out what works for you. And yes, definitely take classes with good instructors. But if something feels like it's not clicking for you, you know, give it a good try. Ask them if they can help you troubleshoot, if you have the ability to do that. You know, or if it just doesn't work for you, try a different way. There are all sorts of ways to see painting and to execute good painting. And of course, your own goals should be part of that. Like whether you're trying to get good so that you can like maybe enter a competition, or you just want to put out gaming, like slightly above gaming level models so that your D&D group's going to be like, holy crap. Holy crap, those are awesome. Like, if getting the holy crap, those are awesome is your goal, like, awesome. Rock it. That is a worthy goal and one I had for many years. Like, that used to be my goal when I was first starting to get better. My kung fu is strong today. You became more old 2 days ago. Ah, Francis. It's all good. Young at heart. Young at heart. Must be young at heart. Happy belated birthday, yes. Yeah, new kits are better than the old, I think. Hey, that's pretty easy there, Fubeka. Having your minis look better than WizKits, I think you got that. I think you do. I'm pretty sure you got that. All right, so we've got some nice highlighted metallics looking all shiny. Shiny. Looking good. Get the highlight here. Now I think I'm going to go up one more. I'm going to make sure I get all my highlights on this. There. All right, I should have everything. I think I got the edge back here. I'm going to do one more, just a really tippy top highlight. I'm probably going to use pure pearl white on it. That's really sharp. Look at how sharp that looks. More sharp than metallics have a right to look. Cookie. Yeah, you're not wrong. Yeah, the Learn to Paint kits are great. I mean, they're nice because they'll take you step by step, and Rhonda really talks about paint consistency and all that stuff. She's really good at explaining stuff. It takes real skill to be a good explainer writer. And Rhonda is tops. Alrighty. Yeah, one more highlight. Let's do one more highlight. But yeah, probably the best thing is just, to take some care with your base coat. With, because WizKids doesn't always. And then learn to shade. Learn to do shading. Like, even if I would have stopped with these metallics at just the shaded state, like, they look better with highlights, but they looked pretty good, even just with shadows. I think as I move forward, I'm going to be putting a lot of emphasis on shading in my class structures. Because I feel like if you've got that, like, you've already got a pretty good miniature, and then just learning the highlights, which is intimidating to some people. But shadows are easier and sometimes more forgiving. Oh, I dropped way too much water into that. Pearl white is a fairly blendable metallic. It's not got super coverage like most metallics. It's better over a darker base coat, but I definitely put, like, I kind of, like, mentally always thin 2 to 1, and then metallics I really need to not do that. I need to be more like 4 to 1. 4 drops paint to 2 drops water. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's if you guys are new, Reaper's online virtual expo is coming up this weekend. Friday, Saturday, right? And there's a bunch of online classes being taught through Zoom, I think. And right there it is. John just linked to it. And I believe the classes are all free. If you want to paint along, then there are kits you could buy, although it might be a little too late with shipping to hit you in time. But you could show up and watch the classes, and they're at all levels, all sorts of different instructors. I'm going to just do some highlights on the very top things. Like, I'm going to hit the rivets with my pearl white. I hit just a little bit, wherever my strongest metallics are, wherever my strongest highlights are is where I'm putting this pearl white in. Just a little bit. Just a little bit to make it really, see how that really stands out now there, that highlight. This is kicking it old school with these metallics, actually. This reminds me of, gosh, some painters' work when I started at Reaper. There were a couple of them who liked working with metallics, who would do these nice shaded metallics and take it up to white. And it's okay to take these up to white because, hey, you have to take NMM up to white to get the right effect. So taking these up to white, that should be a no-brainer. You're working on metal, so you can always take it up to white. So putting these final little white, and I'm not doing like a huge dot of white. I'm still keeping it a little bit see-through. You can see how see-through that is on my thumb. See? So I've got a little bit of coverage there, but not a ton. And I'm just going to hit the very tips. Also, it's worth saying for you guys who are new, if you go to Reaper Miniatures YouTube, a lot of the classes from our last ReaperCon are up there for free, including my own thinning MSP paints class, which you should totally check out if you are new and using Reaper. I talk about thinning it for various techniques and effects, and how much to unload your brush and stuff like that. Gonna get a little bit of a stripe here on the top of the foot, a little bit of a touch there. I just want little touches of white. I'm not looking to do like extreme highlights with these. I just want little, see those last touches. Like, look how tight that looks. Like, that looks tighter than any metallic has the right to be. And this is the kind of way that you really can tighten up and get dramatic metallics while still using. Thanks, Image. Thinning MSP paints should be required viewing. Yeah, I kind of agree. If you're going to use Reaper paint, I really break it down. It's like, and it should be valuable to beginners, and it should be valuable to intermediate painters even who are struggling with maybe layering and blending. Like, it should totally assist all you guys. Because it's really, I like to go down to really the micro detail, like kind of really break down techniques to explain why they work. It's kind of my thing. So I don't tell you to just do something usually. I actually say, and this is why you do it this way. It's the way I like to roll. And I tried to highlight the top of that plate, and it got a little bit too much. So now I'm going to take my walnut, come back in and just kind of thin down that detail with opaque paint, non-metallics, to make sure that all these details are still crisp. And I need to do that belt back there too, but I haven't figured out the color yet. And I'll probably go black because it's what's going to stand out against all of this. So I'm not going to spend too much time touching all that up right now. Let's see here. I think he looks pretty darn good. Maybe a little bit of white up here. And then I'm going to go back here and hit my rivets. And a little bit here, and a little bit up here. I didn't do the actual sides, so I need to do that. It's a little trickier when you're, you pretty much, it's the same rule as NMM, where you just want to make sure that everything looks right from whatever viewing angle you're at. So if you can tweak things to make them look better, then do it. I'm going to get this side here. Up on the top, we totally missed these little nails. And get the tops. I'm going to get the pieces of the band that the nails are going through, because they probably would bulge out a little. We're going to get the bottom of each little nail. So that they stand out. Make sure that we get the bottom edge here. Bring in the white. For a very bottom edge highlight. And each of these little nails. Top one of this, a little bit of that. Just little touches to bring out that design. To make it look like it really stands out. Which looks cool right there. Nope, I need to do it right now. Because I thought it was Sunday, I've not had my usual alarms. Thank you, Karniko, for the reminder. Hold on, let me find something to put. I was going to find something to put this guy on, but I ran out of blocks. Oh, I will use one of my GW paint bottles. There. So we can keep him in focus so you guys can look at the shiny metallics while I do my stretches. You're welcome, Twisted Oma. I mean, I really feel like it. I mean, when I was learning, I felt like I got more mileage if the instructor really explained, like, and really broke down why something worked. But that wasn't really the style when I was learning. So it was a rare thing. But I really think the why is important. Let me do some stretches. Everybody, if you've been in your chair for an hour or even 45 minutes, stand up and stretch. Get yourself out of the box. Oh my gosh, my back just cracked. Oh boy. Oof. Yeah. Oh, and feel free to, That's okay. At least you guys reminded me. Normally I've got my phone alarm set, but like I said, I thought it was Sunday today, so my whole day is somewhat discombobulated already. Do the behind the arms, behind the body stretch. Get your arms out. Oh, lean backward. I'm going to go do some cat cows on the floor. Or you decided to keep it out? Okay. Cat cow stretches and then we'll be good. We'll come back. Alrighty. It's a little stuffy in here. Do you mind if I open the door? Mm-hmm. With two of us in here and the lights and computers. Woohoo! Alright, we're back. Stretch break accomplished.
Yeah, you probably don't want to open the window.
No, there tends to be, like, the leaf blower will start up just when we open the window. We could do it.
I mean, it's pretty cold out.
Yeah, it just gets stuffy in here. 2 humans and many lights and computers in one small space. I remembered to hydrate. Hydrate, everybody. Yeah, it was definitely bad yesterday. I did something to anger it. I was really good most of last week. Alrighty. We are good. We are hydrated. We are here. And it's time to do more metallics. Oh, and it's time to clean off my glasses because they're blurry. So yeah, now we'll just kind of look all around, make sure we've got stuff going on. And remember, we started these metallics by putting a dark brown down under all of them, even the really dark metallics that we haven't touched yet. So remember to always put down like a dark or medium brown underneath your gold, bronze, copper, or brass metallics. You could technically also try a dark red or a dark green. Doesn't matter as long as it's like on the darker side. It'll make the flake look shinier. So that's pretty good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we're good on that first level of metallics. Now we can. I think I'm gonna block in these bags, and I think I am gonna go black. I think I'm gonna go black and purple with his leather and cloth. Yeah, I have a lot of back issues too, Cookie. And I understand that I'm never going to get rid of them, but with exercise, I can at least make them better. So I've been working hard on my yoga and stretches, doing my morning stuff, doing some abdominal work. It does seem to help a lot. The morning exercises definitely help my energy level and help my help the stream, help me do this stream without getting a lot of pain. All right, so 4-1 with pure black. And I'll probably highlight this black up with blue, white, blue gray, just to make it a very, very different color from everything else. And I have to ask myself now if I'm going to make the shield black or if I'm going to make it... And maybe I should do it black and silver because we're going to have silver manacles here. I was thinking about red, but I think I'm not going to do red. I think I'm going to do his beard red. But the rest of him I think is going to be black and purple. So I'm still thinking about that. So it's either purple or black for the shield, I think. We'll see how much purple I actually get on the model, and then I'll make my call. I could also always do it like dual color shield. Do a black. Maybe I'll do that. I'll do like purple with a black stripe down the middle. That'll be fun. I keep dropping my phone on the floor. Hopefully it's not dying. All right, so we're going to take some black. This may be a little thin. Maybe not, though. Our black really sticks well. So I'm going to do the pouches. The more I can fill in, the better at this point, because I want to see how everything looks with everything else. And since I was debating, but I think I'm going to go with a red beard. I think I'm going to paint him like he's a mini fire giant. Kind of like the Dark Iron Dwarves in WoW. That's kind of how I wanted to do him. Rather than the gray back, the gray skin that they have in D&D. I'll do him with really dark brown skin and fiery beard. There, I got that belt in there. So that's going to be black. This is going to be black because this is the belt on this side. And then we'll just keep filling that in on the back. Be consistent. So yeah, this is 4:1 paint to water, and it's sticking to the model just fine, even though it's a very thin coat. If you wash your bones, you should be able to get this kind of stickiness. I never prime my bones, I just wash them and paint over the top of the plastic, and really don't have any problems. Even Rock Troll, who had, he had a couple of rub-off spots, but they were very minor. Easily touched up. And you'd get rub-off spots even if you were working with a primer, so. Yeah, I love purple too, Estro. Alright, so then I'm gonna like look at, we've got a strap here, so I probably need to make the strap black as well. And there is gonna be some metal there. I might make that silver. Kind of, at this point, I've got to kind of figure out what color things are. So we've got kind of an inner tunic there, but not on this side. We've got a sleeve. We've got an inner shirt. I think I'm going to go black and purple. So black with the tunic right here next to the metal. And then I'll go purple with the inner sleeves. Just get a little bit more blacked in on this guy so that we can keep progressing as I work on all the metallics and get them all finished up. Oh, and the belt back here that the manacles are hanging off of. We need to do that as well. Maybe I'll make the handle of the hammer purple. And the gloves were originally going to be dark brown, but I think I'm going to take them black at this point since we're taking so much black. I like to make I like to use the same color over different areas of the figure. I like to repeat the color. So if his leather is black, then I'm going to say his gloves are also black, being leather. And this is black. And using a nice blue-gray to highlight the black will let us introduce a little bit of color in the highlights, even though we're mostly going pretty monochrome there. Oh, I got a little paint up on my metal. Grab some water and just rinse that right off. Here we are. We're getting there. We're filling in more parts of the mini. Always nice. It's always nice to like fill in more parts of the model. Get him closer to done. So we'll need to, he's got little nails driving this leather into the, tacking the leather to the shields. So we'll need to do those in silver, probably do these in silver. This big handle, the sides there, just to make it different. And we've got a sleeve there. We painted the sleeve. We need to get the belt and the back of the sleeve, and then we'll do our darker metallics. And sometimes you'll get an area where the paint doesn't want to stick as well, like there's still a little bit of mold release or whatever sitting there. Feel free to just thicken up your paint to go over that area then. The back of the belt here was a little bit stubborn. Made me think of that. Got a little bit of a blorf there. So again, if you blorf, just take some paint, rinse out your brush really quick, take some water and just put it over the top. You can usually catch it. And I'm going to just actually line these chains a little bit. We're not going to quite get to the silver parts of the model yet. But I've got some black, so it lets me to bring out the details there. Okie dokie. Let's see here. Just going to take some black right down the middle here. Actually, I should probably just paint the whole thing and then do purple stripes over the top of it. So just do the whole darn thing. There we go. Like I said, the more we can block in, the better. Pretty boring with the base coating here, but it is a necessary part of painting. It is the most boring part of painting. There we go. We'll keep that inner rim different now. To remind myself that it wraps around. All right, so purple sleeves. We're gonna have purple cloth down here. Yeah, I think I do want a purple hammer handle. That'll give him a little bit of style, right? He looks so grumpy, but he really has a secret passion for purple. It'll let us do his little band around his beard purple as well, which would be fun. We've got I do have a bit of stuff here. Like there's a question mark on some of like what this stuff is. Is it metal and I missed it? Is the like, this is a boot, so the boot should probably be black. You know, if you realize that you've missed a plate, it's not a big deal. I mean, it just means you're going to do more bronze work. Sorry, I need to thin down my copper again so it doesn't stick. Metallics do tend to evaporate pretty fast too, because you don't add as much water to them straight up, so. Haha. I don't know. I think removing mold lines I enjoy a little bit more than base coating. Weirdly, unless it's a horrible mold line. If it's a horrible, terrible, very bad mold line, then yes, I definitely can see how it would be a bad thing. Yeah, I think I do want to probably get all the boots. Boots. Just gonna do it all black. Yeah, it's so hard to tell what some of these things are. If they're meant to be plates or if they're meant to be like the boot leather kind of cuff. I think I'm just going to paint them black and just go with it. We'll just do that. And if I change my mind, I change my mind. Boop. Got my sticky note in the way here. But yeah, with a model with lots of overlapping plates, sometimes it's really hard to tell what's what. Just go with it. And on the underside of all of these solid colored areas, like the underside here of the model where it's just flat because of the molding process, just fill it in dark. Fill it in with black or walnut. Nobody's going to look at it, so neither you shouldn't spend any time on it. You just want people not to look at it, so paint it dark. Filling in a lot of stuff. There we go. And then we've got our purple there, our purple cloth, which I think I'm going to bring over to here and there. Yeah, I think that's what I want to do. Okay. We have filled in more of our model. Hello, Dusty Telephone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, whenever a mold line goes over tiny details, that's just horrible, isn't it? Alright, so our metallics are looking pretty good, but we haven't tackled our dark metallics. So let us get... I think I'm going to use Kraken ink. And the reason is that Scorched Metal, which is this color, which is kind of equivalent to the old GW Tin Bits, has kind of a purple shadow behind it as it is. Like just the colors that are used to kind of darken the metal have a purplish hue. So Kraken ink, which is a really dark purple, I think will work okay for a shader for this. It's a very dark metal. Starting with dark metallics makes it much harder in a way because there's like so few options to shade them with. All of your highlights have to become your way to make them stand out, but at the same time, this is a very coppery, dark coppery metal, so we'd end up highlighting it with a lot of the same colors, which could make it look too similar. So we're going to make our highlights really small. I think normally I do not start with a metallic that's this dark. I think it makes it harder for you. So I'm going to use some purple to kind of bring in a shadow under the beard here. See how that purple is getting in there. And a shadow underneath this. Kind of take this metal down even further. Because really the only highlights we're going to get are really where the light is going. So like here, this edge, on the hammer here, let's see, how are we going to look? How are we going to do this? Let's look. So when it's facing, it's hard to see how there it is. Okay, so there's our angle. So we see a highlight going down there. There's going to be a shadow right here, so I'm going to just block it in with my Kraken ink to remind myself that that's there. Me another hard shadow right underneath this edge. And there's another shadow underneath this edge. So did you see how I did that? I found my angle and I just painted the shadows exactly as I saw them. This is the easy way to figure out where your shadows go for metallics. I mean, it's the way to do it. Francis, are you washing your models? Are you priming? What are you doing? Because it's weird that you're getting blotchiness with like a 5:1. Like 5:1 should never blotch unless you're not, unless that maybe the soap you're using to wash is not, isn't like quite as good as the stuff I'm using. I always use dish soap because it's made to cut oils. Toothbrush and dish soap. Toothbrush generally not needed in my opinion. And you've washed, and you, how much dish soap are you using? Usually, like there's got to be somewhere in there. It's hard for me to troubleshoot, Francis, obviously when I'm not there. This is the sort of thing where if I watched you do it, I could probably right away go, oh, but I never bother I never bother with the toothbrush. I don't find it's necessary. I just sploosh them around inside the soapy water for like 30 seconds. Rinse, rinse, rinse. I pretty much, I dip out, I pour out the soapy water, refill it, sloosh it around, again pour it out, refill it, sloosh them around until I'm pretty sure that there's no soap there. And then then I take them out and just leave them to dry on a towel. Or a paper towel. I'm just going to copy what we did the first one on the back. I guess I think I'm using Palmolive dish soap or Dawn. I don't remember. Just a standard dish soap, really. So I doubt it's that. I use probably like not a lot of dish soap either. Yeah, that's a good question. Julie's got a good one. What brush are you using to apply your base coat with, Francis? Should be a softer brush. Like I'm using Sables. Like there's got to be a reason it's not working for you. It's just hard to troubleshoot. Oh no, actually that's right. We switched to a better or a less a more environmentally friendly dish soap a while ago, so I guess. But I had the same results no matter what dish soap I was using. Shadow underneath that. Oh, hybrid? Probably going to be firmer then. A hybrid is going to have half plastic bristles. Maybe try to get a really cheap red sable for your base coating. Like not a Kolinsky, but just a regular red sable. One that keeps a decent enough tip for base coating, but that is still a natural hair. Unless you're really against natural hair, then I don't know that I can help you. But Julie does have a point in that any hybrid is going to have a stiffer bristle, and that's going to mean it's going to be essentially a stiffer bristle is going to be scraping your paint over the top of the model. That's the only thing that I can think of that so far that might be hurting you. But even that seems like it shouldn't be that bad. Oh, okay. And I decided apparently to make this silver, which I'm not so sure about now. I'm kind of thinking maybe I need to make it scorched metal instead, so I'm going to do that. Probably because I wasn't sure what this plate would look like when I started this model. So I'm going to base coat with walnut and put a coat of scorched metal over the top. But yeah, the only other thing I can think of, Francis, is if you're not shaking your paint enough before you put it on your palette and thin it. If it's at all got any of the watery fluid in it, then it's going to do exactly what you are bringing up. So you could try to shake it a little bit more, unless you're certain that, you know, it's really well shaken, it's really solid when you put it in the palette. Those are the two things, I think, that could impact that sort of thing. Fat Peanut, what is it? Is it Rosemary and Company from Britain, guys? They've got a decent Kolinsky sable and Reapers. I mean, the thing is, Fat Peanut, here's the dealio, is you can spend a lot of money on cheap brushes, like, or, you know, you spend $10, maybe you get 5 brushes, but those brushes are going to, like, die, and their tips are going to curl, and they're going to start splaying after only, like, a month or two of use. If you buy a $10 brush, like, you know, like the Reaper Kolinskys, or, like, you know, Rosemary and Company actually are, like, more like $8 or $9 a brush, those are going to last you for years. If you're not, like, if you don't leave them in the paint water nose down, you know, and you rinse them frequently. So the quality of brush, I mean, these Kolinskys that I buy, the Da Vinci Maestro and the Raphael, yeah, they're like, you know, $15 to $18 a brush. Absolutely, the Raphael. But they, you know, I've been using this one for years, like literally 2 years at this point, and it still keeps a perfect tip. So my $18 investment, I would have gone through, like, you know, $30 worth of cheap brushes or more, because I paint a lot in that same time. So when you look at brushes, also think about their life, like how long they're going to last you. And if you don't have bad habits, like leaving your brushes nose down in paint water, you could probably invest in a nicer brush and, you know, get a lot less frustration in your painting hobby. And the brush will last you. It'll last you for a long time. But if otherwise, I would say Rosemary and Company, which is a British company, and then Reaper has Kolinsky's. The Master Series Reapers are black handled instead of red. And they're about $10 a brush, so they're a good quality Kolinsky sable, and I would recommend the 0/5 or the 0/10 if you're planning to do like detail work or fine work with them, which is pretty much what you should be, probably using it for with a Kolinsky. But sables come in all sorts of different grades. There's like 10 or 12 different grades of sable, I believe, red sable, and Kolinsky is just the highest grade, the best grade. And you'll pay according to, like, what grade the brush is. Cool, Cookie. But yeah, sadly, I mean, it's not pay to play, but if you do invest in a good brush and take good care of it, you will notice that your painting, improves, noticeably. Like, you will level up pretty much instantly when you get a really good brush. Because finally you'll be able to apply the paint exactly where you want it. Now, when you do get a good brush, do make sure you are thinning your paint and not using it straight out of the bottle. Because the thinner the brush, the better it likes thin paint. Yeah, Francis, I don't know how much troubleshooting I'll be able to do on the Patreon. Like, it's something where I almost need to see you do it in person. And then I can kind of troubleshoot it. Yeah, if you're working on like canvas and trying to get a big sable for canvas, it's going to run you, like $50, right? It's going to be bad. Miniature painting brushes, though, mostly we're doing with a size 1 or smaller. And you're at most $20 a brush. And if you go to dickblick.com, you can get, a pretty good Da Vinci or Raphael for somewhere between 15 and 20, depending on the market at the time. Especially when I consider it a good investment just because I can use them for so very long. Like one $18 brush, like carrying me 2 years is more than worth it, in my opinion. So, oh yeah, if you get a really big, high quality Kolinsky for like a big watercolor mop or something, or oil painting, like big oil painting brush, you're gonna pay a lot of money. Oh, if you're good with your brushes, yeah, then I would just invest. I would probably invest in one of the really good ones. I mean, you could try one of the Rosemaries or one of the Reapers and see how you like it, Peanut. And if you take good care of it and it holds up for you, then you can upgrade if you feel like it. But these days, yeah, considering how long they last me, I never look at anything other than a top quality Kolinsky usually. And I am actually pretty hard on my brushes. Like, I do not clean them. I am pretty brutal. They still manage to keep going for years for me, so they're tougher than they look. Oh, synthetic. You want cheap. You want cheap if you're going to dry brush. Like, I only dry brush on Terrain, Peanut. And, like, this is an old Reaper. It is, you can kind of see the stamp. It's even worn off. It's a Reaper number 4 flat. I like flats for dry brushing. I do dry brushing on Terrain and really not anything else. Basing sometimes. But in general, I don't use dry brushing, so I use bigger, flatter brushes for it when I'm doing it on big models. Big terrain models. But I wouldn't ever use anything other than a synthetic then, because even if your synthetic splits and fuzzes like this guy, it's still perfectly good for dry brushing, so. And I only paid, what, $4 for that brush, so if it eventually gets wrecked, which it will, I won't have to worry about my investment very much. Maybe we'll dry brush on stream, guys, when I get that Yeti, that Mandapar Pass thing from Bones 5. Maybe we'll have to actually dry brush on stream. Wouldn't that be a thing? Anne gives a dry brushing lesson on stream.
Yes, you should do that.
David wants me to do it. He just likes to troll me. But
talk about how great dry brushing is.
How great dry brushing is? For certain things. Let's put a qualifier on there. Let's put a qualifier on there. He's totally trolling me. David loves to troll me. Yeah, I like the flats because the rounds the tip tends to get in the cracks. And with a flat, you don't have that problem. So, especially for like shingles or stone, like cobblestones or stone walls, stuff like that. I really like this. And this does double duty, Fat Peanut, because I also use this brush for like base coating like big models like dragons. If I'm not... Everybody says I should airbrush, but most of the time I'm too lazy to get the airbrush out, so... Alright, so I've got that in there. Great, great, great. That's looking good. Okay. Now we can go back. I've shaded that. I've shaded that. So see how that makes that dark shadow? Since I put that shadow on there, now you can definitely see it. Like the shine is not going to hit that area. So you've already taken a step toward controlling where your light source is going to land on this model by using opaque paint to shade your dark metallic. And I also want to get up. With these plates, remember, as they overlap, the highlight's going to be toward the edge. So I want my shadow to be up toward the plate that's lying on top of it. And I'll darken it way down. We'll probably use this same color to shade our purple once we put it on, although I want it to start a little bit lighter. And we're not going to highlight these plates up quite as much since it's a darker metallic. There we go. Coming along. But you can see, look at even how that little bit of shading like makes this, now it makes these little plates stand out better, right? Now you're seeing more definition here. So even just shading. Yes. Fat Peanut, you have nailed the reason I am not airbrushy. It's because the cleanup. It's because I would rather clean a brush than an airbrush. And I know that that's silly, but I know that there are my friends who can clean an airbrush super fast. I guess if I just enjoyed using the airbrush more, I'd be more likely to reach for it. And if I don't ever use it, I'm not going to enjoy it, right? So I've kind of like trapped myself until I decide to go whole hog into airbrushing.
Yeah, I think that is kind of the problem with an airbrush, because there is a lot of stuff that's easier with an airbrush, but if you're pretty good with a brush and not that good with an airbrush, and then you factor in the cleanup,
right?
Like, it's actually often easier to do it with a brush,
right?
Unless you're going to be doing it a lot. That's
oh yeah,
kind
Rex.
of
Thanks for the cheer.
Sergio's style, where he does sort of a lot of painting without the airbrush, and then he does a lot of airbrush to kind of
finish work.
Yeah,
blending.
I was thinking I might do that with the dragon. We'll see.
So yeah, for those of you who maybe, I know my microphone is not great at catching David sometimes when he's over on the other side, but he was pretty much saying that like if you're really good with a brush and not that good with an airbrush, that it probably is just more worth your while to do this stuff with the brush, just because when you factor in the cleanup on the airbrush and then the fact that you could do it with a brush, you know, because you're good with a brush, then it kind of diminishing returns for sure. So I guess it's just really like how much you want to invest. So what I'm doing now is I'm taking my previous highlight. Remember our light copper here? I'm actually working with that straight up. And what'll make this different is that we don't have this yellow gold. See how much warmer and oranger this is as opposed to this. So I'm working with my scorched metal, which is my base coat here, and then that lighter coppery color and the purple shadow, which is going to make this look similar, but very different. See how that color is very different from these plates. And that's what we want. We want a very different look, even though we're using the same color to highlight with. Yeah, thanks for the bits, Rex. Sorry about that. I missed your bits cheer. John got it, though. I'm going to thin down my scorched metal just a little bit. Scorched metal of the dark Reaper metallics actually have really good coverage. Several of the dark ones. Gunmetal, this scorched metal, and then adamantium. They're all very high coverage, but they're very dark, so you have to tackle them a little bit different when you're trying to highlight them and paint them. I think it's harder to get, like, if you're trying to do like chips and nicks and scratches on metal, I think it's very hard to start dark and do that. I think that it's much easier to start light and then apply a lot of washes and glazes to bring it down, and then bring up your chips and your battle damage. I think it's a lot easier to do that just in the way that, just judging from how I've done it. So now we're going to bring up our highlights here. Remember the hammer? we're going to grab that copper, that lighter copper, and we're going to start bringing it in the areas that we can see the highlights. So like the bottom edge of that, we're going to keep kind of gently bringing it up. We don't want it to go as light and as bright as the other metal, because this is a dark metal, right? We want this one for more contrast. So when we bring in our highlights, we're going to keep them pretty small. We're not going to let them get way out of control. The more area you cover with your highlight color, the more the metal is going to look that color. So if we want it to keep looking scorched metal, we've got to keep a lot of the area to be scorched metal. Well, that's exactly it, Dogfather. And it varies a little bit. You can do a bit more on a big model like a dragon, for example. But that's, I mean, even Aaron Lovejoy, who gives a lot of airbrushing classes, will tell you, you know, no, it's never going to replace the brush. Like, unless they make them micro to where they can hit, you know, pinpoint blends, it's not going to replace the brush for you. That's not really its purpose. It has a tool set that's all its own. So I think that's some of the problem really with the perception of airbrushing in our hobby, is that, you know, it really is not a replacement for the brush. It's an additional tool that is very, very good at some things, but will not replace your brush with some others. So you're always gonna need your brush foo. Need to keep working on your brush foo. There we go. So bringing up that highlight, like right around that edge, and I'm just I'm edge lining there. So I'm using my brush kind of perpendicularly to the surface and just using the edge. This works if you have very little paint on your brush, because it won't, you know, it'll just go on smoothly onto that little edge and it won't run. But if you have too much paint on your brush, you're not going to be able to do a nice fine edge highlight like that with the side of your brush. So do make sure that you're controlling the amount of paint on your brush. Like this is, if you take nothing else from my tutorials, but that you should control the amount of paint on your brush, you will become a better painter magically. Yeah, this would be a great dragon color. Like you could do a scorched copper dragon, like an old ancient copper dragon. Like I'd love to see Caphryxis done this way. Like he's an ancient copper dragon. Because you could do so many colors in the shadows on this and then, you know, bring it up. It looks really, really cool. So, yeah. And I would probably use dark green if I was going to do that. If I was going to do it. I might use purple and green. Because you could put some verdigris. I think I've got a Caphryxis around here somewhere. I don't remember. He's another small dragon. But I'd have to come up with a really inventive way, like patterns and stuff, to do on his scales so that we could keep it exciting. It's like we were talking about at the start of the stream. Dragons tend to be more of the same. You know, you set them up and then all the rest of the lessons are more of the same. Unless you do something really inventive with the scale work. All right, so that we brought up our highlights. See that? So we definitely have a different color going on than this bright color. It's working well. We're going to keep our contrast and still make it look like it's painted, because before it was, you know, it was just looking like itself. It wasn't highlighted, but now we can see how we've brought out the details here. And all it took was a little bit of work. Like this is super fast because all I'm doing is a shadow and really one highlight is all I really want on this dark metal. I probably wouldn't bring this up to white unless I do some really tiny highlights just on these edges where you can see the light is hitting it more. I could get away with a very small white highlight there, I think. Oh, it's 10 after 9. I probably should start wrapping this. Hold on. Let's get the other side of the hammer, this little part here and that part, and then we'll call it. But yeah, hopefully all this metallic talk has been useful for you guys. I'm actually really pleased with how this guy is coming out. I think he's looking pretty darn good. Leaving a lot of dark on the back of this hammer because it's pointed away from the light, so I don't want it to pick up too much. just this handle here picking up a lot of that light, and this staying mostly dark. Maybe a little bit down here on the lower rim. Yeah, there we go. Pick up that line. But a lot of this is turned away from the light. And this one is overshadowed by the handle here. There. There. So we got some serious work done on metallics today. So yeah, when we come back, we'll continue with the scorched metal metallics. I'll probably block in the purple. Maybe I'll come in and start working on his face a little bit. And yeah, we'll just keep working on. But we'll finish the dark metallics next time, I think. Maybe the black. Because the leather is like disappearing right now. And once we get that blue-black highlight on, we'll have a better idea of how the color harmony is playing on this model. And get my purple blocked in, probably. But we can't really hold off on the skin much longer. We probably need to block it in and start balancing it with everything else. Figure out what color we're going to work and block in the red beard and make sure that that still works. Although, since it'll be orange working with purple, it should work great. Floof. My hair is floofy today. Yeah, I mean, it works best on models like this, though, Kuroniko, that, I mean, NMM is not the only option, but for 28s, unless it's got a lot of big plates like this, I still would probably go NMM. I mean, you can do this, and it works as long as you've got a lot of big metal surfaces. You could totally do it on the Giants. Totally. Any of the Reaper Giants would respond really well to shaded metallics. But then when you start to get really smaller details or finer filigree than this, it can be very challenging to make those details stand out with metallics. So that's how I usually make the call. So if this is my job, then what are my hobbies? Well, Kalu, I still paint for myself. Here, let's get her out one more time. Plug for the Templar. I game, so like David and I have been playing a bit of World of Warcraft and a bit of Borderlands and a bit of Overwatch. So this is what I've been working on in my off time. So I paint very competition level models in my off time. So I still actually, my hobby is still my hobby in addition to my job. And then I read a lot. I read a lot of science fiction and fantasy. I write a lot. And my other hobby is canine genetics, just to throw a complete wild card in there. And I guess I have to add exercise now because I'm so into fitness. Because I've officially overtaken up yoga, and I do believe in walking every day and doing all that stuff. But yeah, my dog habit takes up a lot of my weekend time. And then, then I game with David and get my writing in when I can. Yeah, I went much earlier in my life, Kalu. I tried to go freelance miniature painting, and I burned out, and so I learned a lot from that time. And then I went to work for Reaper after that for, 18 years next month today will be my Reaper anniversary. Since I'm still an employee right now, I'm just part-time since I'm just streaming. But yeah, so I mean, I think I learned a lot about how to do this as a job and still keep the love of the hobby, still enjoy painting for myself, right? That's the challenge if you're going to be a freelancer, right? But yeah, so all those things. I'm reading the new William Gibson series now, and I really like it. The first one is, why can I not remember? But there's 2 books out in it right now. The first one is Peripheral, I think, is the book. But yeah, that's the one. I listen to a lot of audiobooks while I walk, so get my reading and listening sometimes. And otherwise I do it at night. But yeah. Among other things. I have probably too many hobbies, but I always keep myself busy. I always have something to do. I'm never bored. I can always do something. All right, let's look for a raid, Reaper miniatures. Here, let's get close to Dwarfy again so you guys can see him in all of his metallic-y glory. Very sharp. We're rating Mocha. Awesome. Yay, Mocha's fun. All right, it was great to meet you new guys. There were several new people asking questions today. It's nice to meet you. Thanks to the stream for coming to the stream. I stream every day here on Reaper Miniatures, every weekday, I should say, Monday through Friday, 11:30 a.m. Central. So every day is a different model. We do a rotation of about 6 models. Tomorrow is Sphinx. Tomorrow we're working on a Sphinx. All right, you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Adios.